Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining today's stream. Welcome, Hunter, Sylvia, Dennis, Vicky, Alex, Trading Desk, Jamie, Raphael. Thank you guys so much for joining this morning. Tom, what's going on with CLOV? This thing has been going crazy in after hours.
Man, they are really running up in after hours. It seems like the hype is really starting to pour into this stock. And I don't know if it's people getting out of AMC and getting into Clove or what, but CLOV is really flying up yesterday in after hours and in pre-market this morning. But it did start to kind of pull back towards open. But man, we are seeing it bounce off of this like $9.20 support level right here. And it honestly looks like a pretty good setup, possibly back up towards this $10 high today.
Good stuff. We have some more people joining. I'm Fierce, Keisha, B, Alex. There we go. So another stock I definitely have my eyes on is Draftkings. That one exploded yesterday, and part of me would not be surprised if it pulled back a little bit today, just given how much it was up yesterday. But obviously, I hope it keeps running.
Yeah, I think it has a lot of potential to keep going too. And we're almost up to that $50 level that people have been kind of waiting for with DraftKings. And we only need like $1 pop to get there today. So I think we might see that. But looking at DraftKings on that daily chart, man, it's starting to really turn back up. And that deal with Autograph Co. is really a good thing to see. And it's awesome that Tom Brady is like the co-founder of that too.
For sure. I mean, I was not expecting DraftKings to partner with like an NFT company, but either way, I mean, NFTs have so much hype behind them nowadays, so I think it's definitely a pretty good sign to see. Looks like we have Zoom trending up at open. They're up around 1% or so, which is good. And Tom, I know you mentioned this morning. We have airlines like kind of pulling back a little bit. They had an amazing week so far, but they're definitely pulling back. AAL's down around 2%, and a lot of the other ones are just pulling back. Same thing with even these cruise lines.
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually, I personally like to see that because now we can get in a little bit lower. It was looking like we might have missed that bottom, especially on like some of these ones like American and like Southwest maybe and just a couple others. But I really am glad to see them kind of pulling back down. The earnings were not the best on the airlines. I'll have to definitely read into them a little bit. I'm actually really curious to see like the outlook. So I'm going to look pretty deep into these earnings, but they didn't hit on the EPS. They were just under the estimates. And so far, it's just definitely moving down. And man, if we fall below $20.75 on American, we might start to see it fall all the way back down to $20.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. All right, so it looks like Nvidia's running up pretty well too. They're up around 2%, and look at this momentum right at open.
Yeah, it looks like the split's actually helping Nvidia. And a lot of people were expecting Nvidia to kind of fall off the table after that split, but it looks like Nvidia kind of priced that in a little bit before the split happened. Then the split happened more of down towards these lows, and now we're seeing a nice little pop back to the upside. So I'm glad to see Nvidia running, and hopefully we can see all-time highs soon out of this stock. But I know a lot of people have been saying it's way overextended, and man, it still looks like it is. And I would not be surprised if like we hit the $200 resistance or somewhere really close to that today, and then ended up going down maybe for like the next couple days. Because man, at some point you would think this stock would have to start to pull back from these highs somewhat a little bit more than it even did.
All right, so we have B saying what could be happening with CCL and NCLH. So there wasn't any like major crazy news that happened with them. I think it was more so just a normal market pullback. Tom, I think you said in yesterday's video, like the percentage gain on CCL from like 19 up to 22 was, I don't know, it was a nice percentage. And, you can't just move like that in like the span of 3 days and not have any pullback. So, in my opinion, it's just like normal market like functioning.
Yeah, and it was up around 22% if you count the pre-market high of today. So yeah, that is actually a pretty high move to the upside there. And like you said, it's almost just like normal to see a pullback like this. And then people are talking about this COVID variant and stuff too. So it just seems like that whole sector might see a little bit of volatility over the next couple of weeks, especially like with this news coming out. But they also hit like right off that SMA, and they fell right below that 23 support again at open. So it's just, I think they're also just moving below support.
Gotcha. UPST is trending up slightly. I mean, Tom, I am so surprised with the way Target has been moving. This thing just keeps going up like almost every day. I purposely got like a put debit spread on them to, definitely buy time. But Man, this thing's a powerhouse.
Yeah, look at that. Back up through that 255 resistance again, and it just continues to run every single day. I cannot believe we're at all-time highs once again with Target. And it just seems like this stock just does not stop going up, unfortunately, which is just a bad thing to see. And, just personally, I don't like to see it. I would think that we would have seen a pullback eventually, but Target's one of those powerhouse, like value almost type of stocks. And whenever those stocks are doing well, they definitely like to move. But man, they've been breaking all-time highs for like the past year straight.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's bound to pull back, and the options have a ton of time, and they're a put debit spread, so not really worried about them. But everyone loves to see it just work immediately. So either way, it's definitely on my radar. Looks like Etsy's popping up a decent amount this morning. It's up around 2%, and it's right at that $200 resistance.
Yeah, that actually looks pretty good right now. And Etsy, I love the movement on this daily chart for Etsy as well. It's honestly moving well off that 200 SMA. I love how we're getting right up to that 200 resistance. And I would say if we break this, we could see a solid move to the upside right through that $200 level. So definitely throw it on your radar. And if we see a pop above that, definitely think about day trading that one.
Alrighty, give me 1 second. All right, so it looks like, all right, we have Hunter asking about BABA, BABA. So this one's been kind of interesting to say the least. I mean, it is popping up now, which is awesome to see, but they've just been like struggling a lot over the past month. I know that they had that horrible news with China back in, when was that? Back in the beginning of July.
Yeah, they did. And that's actually a really good thing to see with Baba. And I mean, man, it seems like they're just starting to move up off that $200 support. And they're starting to really pick up that momentum over the past couple days. And man, I really am glad to see Baba moving like this. I kind of talked about it at the end of last night's video. And man, it hit off that SMA on the daily chart and just ended up moving so well to the upside. And I'm really glad to see it hold that 200 support also. But I think that Baba could be a good play possibly for like the next couple weeks or possibly for the next couple months. And I would think that we would come up to this 250 resistance possibly I would say like by like the end of October or November.
All right. Let's see. So yeah, AMD's doing pretty well too. They're breaking out. Looks like they just broke through that $90 resistance, which is awesome. Baba's popping up. Nvidia's popping up. Zoom a little bit. Let's see what else. Microsoft or no? Let's see. MSFT. Yeah, they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, AMD is really starting to run Microsoft even. Yeah, look at that. Microsoft's really starting to move. I love to see that. The QQQ really running too. And it seems like tech is really leading the way today after having almost like a lackluster past few days. We've been seeing a lot of stuff going on with almost like the value stocks rising. I know KO is having a good past like couple weeks, and then out of nowhere now it seems like that the tech stocks are starting to get back into the game again, and we're starting to see those big runners happen again. And man, it's a great thing to see. And my favorite thing is like we're seeing the growth stocks that deal with tech going up, and maybe not today, but like for example, Palantir was having a great past few days. Draftkings has been running up too, and it's just great to see those stocks start to recover.
All right. And then Jorge said, morning, guys. DDOG, CRWD, and NET are up. Yeah, it's good to see the cloud stocks are doing pretty well right now, like cybersecurity as well. But yeah, good stuff. DDOG is looking pretty good, Tom. What do you think?
I actually really like this move. It broke through that 110 resistance and is starting to really look hot. And man, it's setting up so well for an intraday setup and on the daily chart as well. Intraday, be a little careful. We're getting slightly overextended now. We're up around 3%, but man, it still looks like a pretty hot stock this morning. And on the daily, I love that breakout through this level. And I would think that we come back up and retest maybe that 120 high once again. But man, I know that these like type of like security stocks or like cybersecurity stocks have been definitely doing well. And I'm glad to see DDOG really taking advantage of that type of momentum right now.
And then Hunter said the 1000 don't miss. Yeah, I know, Hunter. It's been pretty spot on lately. And then Hunter also said casino stocks are getting clapped. Like if you look at LVS or MGM like you have, CZR, that one's down like 2%. Wynn, WYNN. Yeah, they're definitely getting smacked this morning. LVS is getting demolished, down like almost 4.5% on the day.
Yeah, they are. And man, I'm wondering if this has something to do with that variant coming out, because you would think that maybe that would like stop some travel to the casinos, or maybe they're like forecasting like some more restrictions coming up. I know I saw some stuff where Nevada was talking about doing more mask restrictions again. And if they do that, then that'll obviously affect the casinos a little bit.
For sure. All right, Raphael said AMC Boom Boom candles. There we go. Let's take a look. AMC. It's
Oh,
running
there
out.
we go. On the 1 minute, it had a lot of big pops above that $40 area.
For sure. I mean, that is a pretty awesome candle. It's definitely a lot of buyers stepping in at this $40 level. Hopefully it pops for you. And this is definitely a solid candle to see.
It is, and I love that $40 support. So hopefully we can hit that and hold. But man, AMC has not been moving well the past couple of days. But I really hope that it holds this level and starts to fly back up towards that $50 resistance. I actually have a pretty big level up there towards 50. So maybe we'll end up hitting that before we go down again.
Yep. And then Hunter was saying that, like LVS reported earnings and they weren't good earnings either. So, yeah, it kind of sucks. I'm really watching for AT&T earnings, Hunter. I know that they had that dividend cut lately, but oh man, I wish AT&T fell a little bit more on earnings, because if they did, I was going to sell some puts on them, because it's a pretty solid dividend stock and they're still relatively low, but looks like that opportunity is gone because they didn't fall.
Yeah, it looks like that opportunity is getting gone, but I would say even on the daily chart though, anywhere like $28 or less is honestly a good time to pick up shares on AT&T if you like it for the long term. So I would say it's still like in like a good range for maybe like some leaps or like some just shares by themselves, but that does suck that it wasn't able to, get those high premiums for us.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, what I wanted was for like AT&T to maybe fall to like maybe like 27.15 or even 27, sell some puts, and if I got a sign, then I just hold the shares for a little bit, collect the dividends, and even sell calls, and it should have been nice, but I guess it didn't fall, so the opportunity's not there, but that's just how the market works. We have Johnny saying thoughts on Mara, so let's take a look. I know that it was exploding yesterday, and it's pulling back a little bit today. Personally, like if you're looking for a Bitcoin play, I'd rather just get Bitcoin itself. But if you want to play the stock, I mean, obviously it's heavily influenced by Bitcoin. I like it right now, but it's not my favorite setup in the world. And let's not forget that Bitcoin has been extremely volatile lately.
Yeah, and I think that for the longer term, I think it will start to go back up. And I do like Bitcoin off of this like 30,000 support. So hopefully Bitcoin can like hold this area for like the next couple of weeks and start to actually get like a good momentum like rush almost back to the upside, kind of like we saw with some of those growth stocks like Zoom, Palantir, and some of those others. And if we start to see Bitcoin, pop back up to above like 40K or maybe like 45 to 50K, then I think it'll be a pretty good move for Bitcoin. And I think that, like I said, I love it off that 30,000 support. And I think if we see that, Mara and Riot will do pretty well too. And Mara seems like it has a good support right around $20, where it keeps retesting whenever Bitcoin gets to 30K.
Good stuff. All right, we have Stefan asking about Clove. So this one was kind of so far it's been a letdown this morning, but it's an extremely volatile stock, and I'm not writing it off just yet. Overall, it's still up around 1.5% on the day. It's making higher lows, and it's not looking bad. I know that there was a lot of selling at open, but it's not looking too bad. So, Tom, what are you thinking?
Yeah, and we're still honestly like above the closing price of Friday, which is a great thing. We're still up 2% on the day. And, all this movement, keep in mind, was after hours and pre-market, but it does suck to see it not be able to open up there at like 975 for us. That would have been an amazing open. And, sometimes I guess the market's just too hard, it just doesn't want us to, really get that gain. So it had to come back down at open, of course, but I'll really be happy if we see this thing continue up for the next few days. And I closed half to kind of like lock in profits there. So I think that's a really good way to kind of go about this one. And now we're able to hold it with a lot less risk. So for overall, I still like the play on the daily chart, of course. And the thing that worries me a little is that it came up towards that $10 resistance in pre-market, which does worry me slightly because that was my one of my main target levels for the stock, but we did hit that kind of and then ended up go down. So we'll have to see if we can kind of head back up there.
All right. So we have B saying took profit while I could on my call options on CCL and NCLH and did a reversal and placed put options. Oh, there we go. Hopefully it continues down for you. And then we have Manny Money saying, what are your thoughts on CALX puts? All right, let's take a look. CALX. I just want to check their chain real quick. So they are extremely illiquid. So I would never play this, even if it was an awesome setup on the chart. If you want to play options on this, there's just no one to like buy and sell with really. The spreads are like basically anywhere from $50 to $100 on this options chain. So I definitely wouldn't play options on it. But how's the chart looking, Tom?
The chart looks pretty decent. They're getting right up towards that resistance, which would make me understand why they want to short it because it's bounced off of like $50 like 4 or 5 times in the past. But I will say though, earnings are coming up. I'd be really careful with this one. And one at some point you would think that this stock would have to break out to new highs and just always be careful because if it breaks that $50 level, then it'll start to really run. And like Mike said, it's very liquid. And then you're on top of it. It's a liquid, and we're going into earnings on Monday, so it's almost like a double whammy. And those IVs will really get crushed with being a liquid.
For sure. So always trust your gut, Manny, but there's two big problems. Like one, you have to predict the direction correctly, but two, we have earnings, so options are going to be more expensive. And then, yeah, well, one, they're going to be more expensive, but then two, there's no liquidity. So, like, even if you buy an option and the stock falls, like if you buy a put and the stock falls, you don't really have anyone to sell it to. So, like, you can predict the direction 100% correctly, even if you get the expected move right with options, but then you have no one to buy it from you. So, it's an extremely risky setup. Always trust your gut, though. And looks like right now, Tom, the main stock on my radar that's up the most today is Zoom, ZM. It's up around 3%. What do you think of it?
Yeah, that actually looks really solid today. And it's been bouncing off of this bottom like support around $350 for the past few days. And it hit like the 100 SMA on the daily chart, on my chart, anyways. And it looks really solid, I think, to the upside. I know that we kind of talked about this one at the end of the day yesterday. And man, it's too bad because Zoom honestly moved very well up above that 355 level, like I said. And I think it looks very, very solid. We are kind of heading into some resistance levels like around 365 and around 368 today, but I think it could be good for like the next few days, possibly.
There we go. All right, we have I'm Fear saying thoughts on ABT. So this is a solid company for the long term. They don't really move too much because the implied volatility is only around 24%. It looks like they just reported earnings. I have not looked into their earnings too much, but their stock is falling off of that news. I like them as a company. For like a short-term trade, as long as they hold that 115 support, I think it should be totally fine. But if we break below that, that would not be a good sign at all.
Yeah, it would not be. And man, it's really unfortunate to see them go south on those earnings. And ABT's been kind of killing it lately, and we've been seeing some of these other stocks that like have dealt with COVID going up, like Moderna and then Pfizer. And it's just unfortunate to see ABT kind of hit right off that 120 resistance and start to really fall off there.
You know it. And then Vicky's asking about Square. So this one's still running, Tom. I know Vicky had a pretty solid trade on this one, which is awesome, but it's still going up. Looks like we're breaking above that 260 support right now.
Yeah, that actually looks really solid that we moved through that level. And I would say that this looks like one of the better setups I've seen today. And it looks awesome how it broke out through there. And I would think we could definitely see a continuation. Maybe not today, but definitely like for tomorrow or the next few days, now that we're starting to break through that resistance level. And I really hope that we can see Square keep going up and possibly retest those all-time highs. But just be a little careful. We're just slightly above that resistance right now. And it could still maybe like kind of go down off of these levels. It's just kind of like a confusing area because Square is so high priced that it only moved up above the resistance by like about $1. So it could still end up going down. So hopefully we can see it kind of pull back over the next few minutes. bounce off of like 260-ish and then kind of start to break out up towards like 260, 250 or somewhere up above that so that we know the breakout is actually solid.
All right. And we have Hunter saying TXN is falling on good earnings. Maybe bad guidance, not sure, didn't check it out. They had a solid EPS though. So yeah, I saw that. I did not look too much into their earnings either, Hunter. But yeah, they definitely had a solid EPS and they're down around 5%, which is a pretty good amount.
Yeah, that is quite a bit. And earnings can always do that, and that's the unfortunate thing with earnings is sometimes you'll have good earnings and the stock still goes down, or you'll have bad earnings and you'll see the stocks go up sometimes. So it can always get weird, but TXN might have had something. I'll definitely have to read into it a little bit to see how the outlooks and everything look. But that's just unfortunate to see them going down. But I know that for a lot of traders, that'll create a lot of good opportunities.
You know it. How's Roblox doing? I know that they were like popping up so much back in May, but ever since they've been like making lower highs, which isn't the best. Do you have any levels on this one?
It's hard to say right now. I'm glad that they moved above this $80 resistance that they were kind of sitting at for a couple days. It looks like they are starting to like kind of break out today, intraday, and it definitely does not look bad today itself. Maybe for like a couple days swing, it doesn't look terrible for something like that. But for the longer term, I don't like it too much. It's kind of like right between this area. And honestly, it's been pretty volatile, moving up from lows of $60 all the way to 103 back down to 77. Now we're at like 81. So definitely like a pretty volatile moving stock, but I would almost expect it to maybe like hit off of this $70 support and then maybe start to go back to the upside and maybe retest these $100 highs. So we'll have to see what can happen with it. But I know the stock had been pretty hot whenever it was running. And if we start to see some more momentum, I would not be surprised if we started to retest 90 and then 100 again.
All right, Baba's running, Tom. Check that out.
Baba, wow. Yeah, I know that we were talking about this one earlier, and it's just continuing to go. I love it off that 212 resistance, and it passed right above there, right through the 1,000 SMA. It opened too, and just continues to move up. And man, Baba's just a key runner. These Chinese stocks were down for so long. Baba had like one of the worst like downtrends for like the past like 6 or 7 months, just continuing to go down ever since like last July, or I mean last October. So definitely not a good thing to see. But I think that with that bounce off the 1,000, that bounce off the 200 support, I think we'll start to see Baba start to roar back to life, kind of like what we're seeing right now. And I think for the longer run, Baba is still pretty cheap as long as you can get them below like 225 a share. I think that that's still a really good way to go. And I think that like even selling puts right now is still on the table. The IV is not the lowest it's ever been. And it's not, I mean, it's not the lowest it's ever been, but it's pretty low. But I will say selling puts still isn't terrible considering that we're all the way down by that 200 support.
You know it. And then Hunter said DHI is down on earnings too. DR Horton, whatever that is, reminds me of that Disney elephant. So let's see. So
Horton,
yeah,
here's a who.
yeah. So yeah, it's down like 5% or so. I didn't look into their earnings, but yeah, that sucks. They're getting pretty close to the 85 support.
Yeah, that actually made me think of Disney more than anything, more than Horton. And it looks like Disney now looks like it's unfortunately looks like it's turning over on the intraday chart here, not looking too good. Hopefully Disney can hold this like 172 support, Mike, because it was doing really, really good for a while. And it's just unfortunate to see it pulling back like this.
You know it. All right, let's see. We have T saying make their collateral more expensive. It's the only way to compete. DRV, Ear the Hedgies, Ninja Loans are back. DRV, let's take a look. So yeah, this one's been downtrending for a little bit. If you're in it, I hope it pops up for you. Microsoft and Zoom are. Oh wow, I didn't realize Microsoft exploded past their all-time highs like that. Wow.
Yeah, look at that. The breakout to all-time highs, and now it's kind of pulling back, but I'm glad to see it hit that 286 level today. That looked like a pretty good pop. And man, I don't know what's been up with Microsoft. They've been a powerhouse. I don't know if it's the new Windows 11 coming out soon or what's going on, but this is amazing to see. And honestly, if they break through 286 again today, I think we'll see another solid move, but definitely watch out for them. If they don't break back up through 286, I could see them just kind of going flat to going down.
All right. And then we have Corbin saying, "Can you tell me Apple will go down? I've lost 3K in 2 days. Not good." So let's see. Apple, uh, I mean, what? First of all, what expiration and strikes do you have? I feel like that's more important than anything else. Um, it's hard to say. I mean, tech stocks and stocks aren't going down without a fight. Apple's definitely holding its ground. Let me know what strikes and expirations you have, because, like I said, I think that's going to be more important than anything else.
Yeah, these tech stocks are honestly just showing their strength and just continuing to go back up. And, a lot of people were buying these dips whenever the market dipped down for a few days. So keep in mind that that might have just been a little bit of a dip buy going on rather than, like a big sell off starting to happen. And then we also had Nvidia kind of selling off then as well. So I don't know if like something was just kind of like faking out the market right there, or if that like Delta variant just like put like a little like wave into stocks or something. But overall, I will say that these tech stocks are starting to really come back to life. And man, like if Apple can break above that high of Friday, or I mean, I should say that high of Tuesday, right around like 147, I think we'll start to see a pretty big move back to almost to all-time highs on Apple, kind of like what we're seeing with Microsoft.
All right. All right. So he has the 145 strike put for 820. So it's not bad. Let me take a look real quick. 145 for 820. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the theta will get bad exponentially. I mean, it's not too bad of an option. It's always better to get closer to the money, but I mean, it's a hard thing to say. Apple's not going down without a fight. Historically, they love to run up. Hopefully, the market pulls back, but it's definitely not looking the best right now. One trend that I see is, if we go like on an intraday, you could say like 5 or 10 minute chart, it is making lower highs, which is awesome. It first had a high around like 150, and then another high around, you could say, like 148, and then another one around like 147. So hopefully it cannot break above this 147 resistance.
Yeah, hopefully not. And I will say though, like given the intraday setup that I'm seeing today, personally, to me, it looks like it will do that. So definitely have your eyes on it and be really careful with the play. Tech has always been a powerhouse. So sometimes it likes to fake out people like the way it's been doing. So definitely watch out for it. I think it could end up hitting off of this and going down though. But the intraday setup seems pretty solid. And whenever I look at like the daily chart, it's going to be pretty hard, I think, for Apple to get back above 150. So hopefully we can hit above that like 150 resistance and end up going down from there. But hopefully by then it's not too late for your puts. And, I think that with earnings coming up on Tuesday with Apple, I think that that's going to be maybe the factor that you need to finally send Apple down. Like we saw Netflix kind of go down on earnings. A lot of airlines are going down on earnings today as well. So it seems like so far the earnings season has not been too positive. So hopefully that can help you out as well.
All right. All right. We have Matthew asking about the Dow Jones DIA. So, it doesn't have as much momentum as like tech stocks right now. Like if you look at the QQQ, they're popping up today. DIA is not. So, I mean, personally, I don't think that the market correction is over. I've been holding the hedges with TZA. So I don't know. I mean, I really wouldn't be surprised if we retested like on DIA, maybe like the 337 support or so.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we did that either. And that's that support down there is pretty solid. So we had a few good days though off of that bottom level, and now we might see like just a little bit of a pullback heading into there, keep in mind. So I think we could see it hitting off of there as well. And even like with these tech stocks, even though they're going up today and they might go up tomorrow, a lot of them are still below their like all-time highs and they're heading like back up to them. So we could always see like another bounce off of those and then more downwards movement. And, keep in mind, there's lots of weird things going on right now with like cybersecurity stuff. There's stuff going on with the Delta variant right now. And that's all we need is just some like pretty bad headlines or like some jobless claims or something like that. I know we had some jobless claims today that actually showed something that the claims came in well above expectations. But overall, there's lots of weird stuff going on right now with the variant. And all we need is like one like bad piece of news or one like weird thing that just rattled the market. And it seems like the market's just waiting for something to make it fall.
All right. All right. So let's see. Spacely said, "Good morning, guys. I'm swinging CPOP and up 24%. Wow, that's awesome. How does the daily look? Let's take a look. CPOP. Let me give me 1 second. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty decent. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. It had that like weird IPO on it and actually came down. Pop culture group. I'm gonna have to definitely check into this one, but I think it looks pretty solid. The daily looks like it's turning right back to the upside, and it honestly looks like a pretty nice like high risk, high reward setup here.
All right. Vicky asking about Uber, and then she also said, hit the like button. There we go. So Uber is down a little bit today, but I saw that they had news. It said Uber Freight is going to acquire Transplace for $2.25 billion. So that's pretty solid. They do have earnings relatively soon, so like I wouldn't swing it or anything. But I think they look pretty good, like for like a very short term trade.
Yeah, I would say so as well. And I like how it's bouncing off the 45 support on the daily chart. So I like that aspect of them. But keep in mind Uber and Lyft have always moved kind of strangely off of like weird catalysts, especially like stuff like the Delta variant. So just be very careful with these guys going forward. It seems like they're always going up and down and having some weird news. And for them, it seems like that they're really their fundamentals are a big deal. So I think that if we start to see like good earnings on this next report, then they'll obviously start to go back to the upside. But if we see bad earnings, it'll just continue down.
All right. Adrian said mRNA to 345 question mark. Personally, I doubt it. Statistically speaking, when companies get added to the S&P, normally they fall. On top of that, mRNA is way overbought, and on top of that, even if you did want to play it and you played it with options, the options are pretty over or they're pretty expensive right now. So, of course, it's possible, but one, in my opinion, I feel like it's unlikely. And two, I just feel like it's not worth the risk.
Yeah, I think that would be really crazy actually to see Moderna fly up to 245 or I mean 345. That would be absolutely nuts. And if they do, then good for them, I guess. But I don't think that they'll do it. I think that they will start to find some like downwards momentum over the next couple of days. And man, if they do fly up to there though and end up hitting like 350 or something like that, then this stock is just going to be like an absolute powerhouse. And it's starting to almost get parabolic, like almost like GME or something was for a few days, but it's definitely running pretty pretty nicely. And I will say though, definitely wait for it to go down. I wouldn't necessarily like go like long like weekly puts or anything right now on it, but I think that looking at it to the downside is definitely a strong way to play it.
All right. We have Alex saying thoughts on COUP for the short term. All right. So it's down a little bit today. Let me pull up the daily chart real quick. Um, I mean, it's bouncing off this 220 support, which is good. I think it's all right for like a dip buy, maybe for like a call debit spread or something along those lines. Let me look at a max weekly real quick. Yeah, I don't think it's bad for like maybe like a call debit spread off this support level. I think the risk to reward ratio is pretty solid though. It depends where you'd cut your losses, but let's say you'd cut your losses at like 215 and then you got in now. I mean, you could probably have a move up to like 240 or so, depending on how you set up your trade.
Yeah, I think that would be a pretty smart way to play it. And definitely looking at it, 215 ish would be right below like that 220 support area. So I think that looks pretty solid. And man, COUP, I don't know what they do fundamentally, but I will say like the max daily chart doesn't look too bad for like the past, few years. It sucks to see that they were downtrending this year, but hopefully they can start to recover back and maybe start to like get back up to those highs again. But I will say this stock is pretty priced pretty high up here around 223 to $377.
Tom, snow is breaking out intraday right now. What do you think of this one?
I actually really like this. It's moving off that 250 resistance. I'm glad to see it flying through there again. And man, I love to see Snowflake moving it on the daily chart. This is one of honestly the better setups I've seen all morning today. Even on the intraday, it looks really solid. The 1 minute and the 15 minute both. I think we could see a run for like maybe the next like few minutes here as we keep breaking out to these highs. And then also I think we might see a run for like maybe the next few days.
All right. Good stuff. So I'm just looking at TWLO2. This one's moving pretty well. It's up around 3%, and they're breaking above some pretty strong resistance levels right now.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really strong level there at $400. And Twilio breaking through that's awesome. We're seeing a lot of stocks today start to come up and kind of break through those like key resistances. And hopefully that kind of shows that these stocks are still like recovering up. But hopefully Twilio can just continue this movement, because if we just see like a little breakout and it falls right back through or something, then at that point it didn't really matter too much. So hopefully we continue to see this type of movement on the daily. And I would think that with Twilio, since we started to break out from right here, I think we could see a pretty easy move up to like 420, maybe 419.
All right, good stuff. I'm trying to see what else is moving right now. It looks like not too many stocks are moving. I mean, of course, we have Zoom moving up, which is good. It's up almost 4%. Apple's moving up decently, but Neo's falling right now. But I'm not really too worried about it. I just don't see any stocks that are moving too much right now.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those days where like we had two awesome days in the market. Stocks were really flying up. And so just expect like maybe a little bit of consolidation today, kind of like what we're seeing out of Neo, some of these other stocks that are going down, kind of like even like the banks, like we're seeing like Bank of America kind of just slow down today, as well as JP Morgan. So overall, just kind of expect a little bit of a pullback today, but maybe we'll continue this momentum maybe like the beginning of the week next week, or hopefully tomorrow on Friday. But I would think it might take till next week at this point. But overall, like I still like a lot of movement, kind of like what you said with Zoom going on. Baba's having some good moves. Apple's actually running. I actually really like Zoom intraday. They're sitting right on the 1000 SMA there on the 5 minute chart. It looks actually really solid, and we're breaking right through that level right now. And it looks like Zoom might be having like a almost like a second resurgence here as it starts to run again.
All right. Let's see what else is moving. I mean, there's not too many things going on. Zoom, Apple, Snow, Etsy. How's Etsy looking?
Let's check it out. ETSY. Yeah, they're actually still running up as well. I love how they keep going. They actually broke $200 and just broke that. So I don't know how much further they can keep going, but man, they broke that $200 resistance, and I would think that they could run up to like 205 or somewhere close with them kind of breaking that.
All right. Let's see. Tom, what do you think of the market right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not liking it too much today. It's kind of a bad day. It's just a very choppy day. Not the worst day in the whole market, I'll say. At least we're getting some good moves out of like Zoom, Apple, the QQQ, AMD. But in the end, though, like we have the SPY flat to down, we have the Dow kind of down. The SPY on the 1 minute is sitting right on this 434 support right now. It looks like it might fall back through that to the downside. It's also sitting right on that 1000 SMA, which is why right at the 434 support. So there's just two very key levels right there. And man, if we break that, I'm gonna have to be pretty bearish, I think, on the SPY today. And hopefully, like we don't see the market start to crash off or start to correct again. But I know that these past couple days might just be like almost like the beginning of like a dead cat bounce, or just like a small correction back to the upside before we start seeing that big type of sell off. Because I know that every time the market dips, it seems like people rush in to buy those dips, and maybe we're just seeing a small couple day run up on these dip buys, and then we'll see more downwards movement. But I would say definitely throw the SPY on your guys' watch list today. If it falls below this 434 level, definitely look at it to the downside. I think we could see some pretty big moves, easily almost down to 433 for a pretty safe move. But I think we could see even worse moves down to 432 or even lower.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the market is making lower highs, so definitely with you. I think that, the risk of the correction or sell off is not over yet. So, we're making lower highs. It looks like the QQQ is a little bit stronger than the SPY right now, and to me, it looks like the weakest one is IWM, which is the Russell. Normally, these small caps struggle before like the bigger stocks, so it definitely makes sense, and they're definitely a good amount off their all-time highs.
Yeah, I will say, just looking at like IWM's chart, like if this was like the SPY or the Dow, I would be getting pretty worried actually if I saw this. So I could definitely see what you're talking about there with these smaller caps. And man, it's just like I said, if that was the SPY or the Dow, it would not be looking good. The Dow itself is starting to pull back pretty good from its high too, around 350. So hopefully we don't see like, hopefully we don't see like a big crash down. Hopefully like the Dow or the DIA comes down and retests like 325, and hopefully the SPY goes back down and retests maybe like 400 or like 402, somewhere around there. But man, this pullback is definitely starting to look like it's getting pretty strong. But it seems like intraday the SPY is kind of holding that 434 support. So I'm still going to be waiting for it to just break that level before entering like any puts or anything.
AMC's kind of tanking off, unfortunately. They just broke the low of day, broke that $40 support, and they're heading down.
Man, I know a lot of people were looking at this one to go up today, and it's definitely unfortunate to see this. This is not the type of movement people were looking for. That 40 support was pretty big for AMC. Very bad that we're not holding that. And I will say on the 1 minute chart, it actually confirmed right off of that. It fell below 40, popped right back up, touched $40, and then flew way down right off of that. So I think that's showing me a good confirmation below that level today. And personally, if I was trading AMC, I would be getting pretty bearish on it. It ended up hitting the 1,000 SMA at the high of this morning as well and going down. So overall, just bad moves out of this stock and bad moves off the technicals. So I personally would not be playing it. Looking at it on the daily chart, it's also starting to look pretty bad there. It was having a good past couple of days, like it was recovering back up, but it just hit that upper resistance around 47 to $50, and now we're just heading right back down. So to me, I think AMC's run is just about over.
All right, so we have Chris asking about levels on Zoom. So I would say the 350 support is huge. And then in terms of resistance, obviously 400 is huge, but we definitely have a strong level at 380.
Yeah, I love that level up there at 380. That's going to be pretty big. I have one right kind of where we are around 365 too. And man, I love the way that Zoom was starting to break out today up above that high at 366. It was looking pretty good, like it would keep running. But we're seeing like the SPY kind of pull back a little bit, and some of those other indices like the QQQ. So overall, like maybe Zoom coming down intraday isn't too bad. I think that it can definitely continue up though on the daily chart. And I would think on the daily we could see a nice recovery up to like maybe that 400 resistance eventually.
All right, we have Alex saying, can you look at Clove again? So, Tom, this one has had a crappy day so far. Looks like they're getting close to going from green to red. Looks like there's just selling pressure with, the meme stocks like AMC, Clove, and a lot of the other ones. The good news is that Clove is very volatile and it can easily turn around. But the bad news is that obviously there's a lot of selling pressure. So, what are you seeing?
Yeah, lots of selling pressure today. It's fine. It's falling like right through this $9 support that we had on it, which is not a good sign today. But one thing to keep in mind is that it's still almost right at the closing price of yesterday. It's almost right there. So it's not like we've seen that much different a movement from the close of yesterday. I know it looks scary on the chart because it had such a good after hours and such a good pre-market that, obviously this sell off is going to look think it hit off that resistance in pre-market, and I think that might have been like the touch that a lot of people were seeing, and it's just kind of coming down now. So definitely look for it to possibly continue down today a little. I see a huge support at like 875, so really watch out for that area. And it is kind of falling below the 1,000 SMA, which isn't generally the best of signs, but on the 1 minute chart it could easily come right back up.
Gotcha. Alrighty, so Tom, do you have any last minute stocks or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
Man, I definitely have my eye on AMD. I know that was running up a little earlier. Right now, it's kind of pulling right back to the downside, which is unfortunate to see. But, the more I see AMD and some of these stocks go down, you can just start getting better opportunities on selling some of these puts and stuff like that. I know AMD has earnings coming up on Tuesday, so definitely going to be watching out for those. But man, the market's just kind of flat today. There hasn't been too much good movement. I would like to see Zoom start to break out again. I think that could start to be a good day trade if we see them break their high of day. I think that could be one of the better plays that we're seeing today, along with Baba. Baba was having a lot of great movement earlier on. And if we kind of bounce like around this 214 level and head back up towards 216, I think that we could get a pretty good trade in there. But overall, my favorite thing to watch, and I'm really stern about this one, is Spy. It has that big key 434 level intraday, and it looks like we might be bouncing off of that and going to the upside, but definitely watch for it to fall below this. If it falls below 434, I think we'll see a pretty big move. I'll definitely have it on my radar and just be like waiting to pull the trigger for that one. But other than that, it looks like it might hold this level. So definitely have it on your radar and make it break below that before playing it. But if you just be patient on this one and wait for it to do that, you could make a pretty good day trade out of it.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining today. There's not too many things going on in the market right now. It'd be nice to see CLOV turn around. Zoom's leading the way to the upside on my watch list. Etsy's having a pretty good day too. So thank you guys so much for joining, and we hope you have an amazing